Hello, everyone. Welcome to this lovely March evening and the March 9th, 2026 regular meeting of the Telford Borough Council. And I will call this meeting to order and I hand over to John Taylor for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let's stand. Let's bow our heads and pray. We pray for continued wisdom and guidance on our agenda before us tonight and for any challenges that may face us in the remaining year. We continue to pray for our mayor, borough officials, the assembly council, and those who live and work in the borough of Telford, especially our police, firefighters, and emergency personnel. We continue to ask your protection for all of our men in uniform here and around the world. We are grateful for the service and dedication to keep our nation safe. We pray you keep them safe, especially those in extreme danger due to our current war in Iran. Give us the courage to do our jobs ethically and maintain the ideals of service that you've instilled in all of us. Grant us your wisdom to govern our community for all of our citizens. We ask you to bless our country, especially these divisive times, with your wisdom, love, and compassion. For these and all your blessings, we thank you, our Father. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to roll call. We have Jerry Baratsky.
Here.
Council President Mary Schwartz here. Council Vice President Robert Sparks.
Here.
Councilmember Carolyn Cahill.
Here.
Councilmember John Taylor.
Here.
Councilmember Patrice Embry. Here. Councilmember Catherine Farina. Here. And Councilmember Lauren Bates. Here. Thank you very much. Will anyone be audio or video recording or live streaming the meeting this evening?
I will be.
Yes, any members?
John Waldenberg, 149 North 4th Street.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Next, we have section 4 citizens comments for agenda items. So if anybody does have any comments on the agenda items specifically, you have 3 minutes and you just need to come up to the podium, state your name and address the record.
Well, I just gave you that information.
Thanks, Sarah.
I don't have anything specifically laid out, but I did notice on the agenda from the minutes, as I spoke to you beforehand, that there's some discussion on the succession plan and that process. I hope this will be a very wide open and wide transparent process. Just my 2 cents. I have full faith in, that, Mr. Chief Floyd has been, for lack of a better word, grooming Corporal Adams to eventually fulfill that role. I hope that we will also see from other candidates and choose from the most qualified at that point. I would also maybe say at this point too, would be a good possible consideration to look into planning a regional, possibly a regional police force, working with Saturton and either Franconia or Hilltown. I believe there are a lot of times when, I see Saturton responding to something here in Telford and Telford responding to something in Saturton. There's a lot of crossover that happens, and I think that may be time to consider something like that as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Waldenberg. Any other comments? Okay, moving on, we have no confirmed appointments of this evening. So next we will get to the minutes of the previous meeting. And I'll need a motion to enter into the record the minutes of the meeting from February 9th, 2026.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Excellent. Do I have a second? A second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have the treasurer's report, Mr. Boston.
The report is in the packet. If anybody has any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for Brian on the treasurer's report? Okay. Hearing none, we will move to the police department report.
You have a copy of the written report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have regarding that.
Does anyone have any questions for each other on the report? Thank you very much. Moving on, we have the mayor's report. Mayor Drutzy.
Thank you. It's been a very active month for me. And in addition to continuing my recovery from surgery, most of the time this month was spent dealing with issues and concerns within the police force. And resulted from last month's council meeting. And I had several meetings with individual officers and with Corporal Adams. And just a lot of concern within the police department. So also we had the public safety meeting, so I was present for that. So been a busy month.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Next, any questions for the mayor on the mayor's report? No, hearing none, we will move on to the fire department report.
Reports in the packet, there were 40 calls last month, very busy month. Anybody have any questions?
No, I think it's a very good detailed report. One of the better ones I've seen so far.
Yeah, we moved to a new software at the fire department. Let me not say we moved to it, we were required to for the go. So we have to use a new program called Nearest, and Nearest gives us a little more updated and allows us to do better slices and present data in a different way. So I think it works a lot better because it's more visual than the other one. When it was just words that fall over the place. Wasn't best. So
It was easy. It was really nice to be able to visualize sort of where you guys are going in that chart that you had. So that was really helpful. Any other questions or comments on the fire department report? Okay, moving on, we have the EMS report. I know that was in the packet. Any other comments that we had on that? Okay, no worries. We will try to, I think maybe one thing that we can put on our agenda is to try and connect with the EMS team, just to do a check-in, maybe you're checking with them or something like that. Any questions that anyone had on the EMS report? Answer. Okay, next we have library report.
Do my best to keep things moving.
As you can see, you have to report in your packet. Usership continues to grow, and that is certainly thanks in part to the borough's support. And the library, also thanks to that support, can present and host a number of programs to help the members of our community live fuller lives, such as they have a really robust law school program, history offerings like this Wednesday's The Irish in the American Civil War, and showcasing the talent of our 17 area school district students and art on display throughout the library. And there's a reception on Thursday from 6 to 7:30. So we're welcome everyone to come out. The library has also launched a spring into reading for young people ages 4 to 18. That's from March 1 to May 31st. And they can participate online in person. And save the date for Saturday, July 18, for Indian Beer Fest returning to Rotary Park in Souderton. That is co-presented by the Foundation of Friends of the Library and the Souderton Telford Rotary Club. VIP tickets are now on sale, which includes a free event and food, exclusive orders, and the fan favorite seafood boil from our neighbors at James Market. The next library board of trustees meeting is Thursday, March 19 at 8 a.m. in the library community room. It's awesome.
Yeah. Any questions for Michelle on the library report? Maybe you, Michelle. Moving on to the borough staff reports. We have the borough secretary's report.
I have the report in the packet. I would like to, if you have any questions about the report, I'd like to talk a little bit, just an update on the rental inspection program.
Yeah.
So, Caitlin, if you could pull up that map. So, right now we have, 217, addresses that have, signed in. Most of them have done it online. Most of them have completed it online. We have had some that have, sent them in by hand. We just fill out the online form for them, in-house. It's going fairly smooth. Once we get, all of them, now it's hard to tell because there are multiple units and addresses per letter. So like if someone owns, 5 different addresses within Telford, we only send them one letter, but it has those 5 addresses on it. So we do have a, you know, a little dot for each one. So, Caitlin, if you would just want to click on one of them, it'll kind of show you some of the information that is in there. If you just scroll down. And basically, it's the information that we've kind of been looking for is, that's going to help either the police force or the, fire department is how many people are in that unit. You know, that's really more of a, if there's happens to be an emergency and we need to go there and find out and looking for, X amount of people, we know what we're looking for. As far as we'll probably send out a letter to the owners starting early in the summertime, have them start scheduling. We have not determined if we're going to do Bucks County and Montgomery County, or if we're going to do odd and even. We haven't decided yet. I'm in favor of odd and even, only because we're in an even number year. We could then do all the even number.
Like house number.
Yep, yeah, with the addresses. So, the only thing that comes into play is if there's an even number with, say, 75 units.
Oh.
That then becomes, more of an issue on one side, and, we just don't want all the even numbers to be all the big unit ones, and then come next year, we're gonna have half of the addresses, but they're only one unit each. So, we have some time to figure that out yet. But just want to kind of give everybody an update on how it's going.
Have you run into a problem with people that believe they live in Telford because their mailing address is Telford, but they actually don't live in Telford?
If you scroll up or go out, that's one right there.
Yep.
Yeah, they do, and we usually there's one over there on the bottom left.
Yeah.
Yeah, we typically have notified them to let them know, and then we get rid of that dot. We've also had people pay registration for each unit at a location, and that's not what it said in the, and don't get me wrong, I don't like giving money back. However, the ordinance does say that it's $75 per address, not per unit. So if you have 5 units, you're only paying $75 for the registration. So,
Thanks for spearheading this.
it's okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you just instate your Borough, what's the percentage?
Could you just go ahead up and just make sure you state your name?
Oh, sure.
Just so everybody at home.
Please, me, I have a couple of things on my agenda.
Okay.
That'll be fine. Thank
Okay.
You will, I will put it in and remember that we're going to. Excellent.
We have not made it available online yet. I do believe that, it's no more information that is being given out on the county website. So if you go to the county website and go to the parcel map, if you click on the parcel map, it's telling you a lot of the same information, not all of it. So I'm still kind of, I would have to defer to the solicitor on if we can share that out or not yet. You know, it may be something that we do in the future. We also maybe put it out, maybe a watered down version of it where we maybe hide some of the personal, you know, like telephone numbers, things like that. That's about as personal as we're gonna get his telephone number, so.
Excellent. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, any other questions for Brennan on the secretary's report? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to Warren and the Public Works Department.
Good evening. Report was in the packet. If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them, but I can tell you, everybody in the Public Works Department is thrilled that there isn't any impending snow again. Yeah.
Thank you guys again for everything that you did over those last 2 snowstorms. It was a lot. We genuinely do appreciate all the efforts that you guys put forth.
Appreciate that. We had great communication with the fire company, with putting out information during that, rotating through and them checking on us, and I think us checking on them, but it's pretty much just more us pushing snow.
Great, thank you. Any questions on Warren's report from council? Yep. Okay, moving on, we have the professional consultants reports. So first off, we have the solicitor's report. Virgil Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam President. There was really only some minor things that were done this month, so nothing major to report.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. Any questions on solicitor's report? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the engineer's report, I know that is in the packet, the report that we typically get from CKS. Were there any questions on the engineer's report? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to the council committee reports. So the first is the finance and admin. So the first item that we have is the motion to approve the bills from February 2026 in the amount of $116,439.21. Does anyone have any questions on this motion, questions or comments before we move forward? Okay, hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the bills for February 2026?
Motion to pay the bills.
Excellent. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So the next item that we have under the Finance and Admin Committee is Resolution 2026-04, the borough audit for 1 year. So Brian, I don't know, do you want to talk about this or I can?
Sure, we had one audit firm get back,
Yes.
so it was really hard to narrow them down on who we were gonna choose. They do have actually a really good resume of who they use, and they specialize in government audits. So I think this is going to be a good fit for us. We have already met with them one time, basically told them that it's contingent on us, you know, approving this tonight. But we kind of have everything in a row, like what we have to do. Everything is done online. They're not coming here at all. We're just literally dumping things into an online portal, which I know we are all looking forward to, not shuffling paper all over the place. So, yeah, they did offer a 3-year. The only thing is we were recommended by the solicitors that 2 years would be the max because there could be a potential new council here in 3 years because of the elections. Therefore, we can't pass on that contract to them. So rather than do they did a 1 and a 3, they didn't really do a 2. So we can do a 1-year one with them, and if we're happy with them, we can always re-up, or we can go out for another RFP if we would like to.
Makes sense. Yes.
Just have one question for clarification. What is the reason we do not have an elected auditor versus hiring an auditor?
Some municipalities have elected auditors. That's why.
Can I take a swing at that?
I've never heard of that, but
Undisclosed conflict of interest. That's why. So if you're gonna put somebody out there for a popular vote, they're gonna have an interest somewhere.
Yeah.
You need a completely neutral arbiter that has absolutely no dog in the fight.
That's why. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there was like a constitutional reason or not. Like I said, a lot of municipalities have it.
Yeah, the independent auditors you'll find.
Yeah.
At least in this region, just about all of the boroughs and townships have.
Yeah, because I know one of the auditors for lower one of the ones down in your Springford area. But it's like a board of like 2 or 3 auditors. So
okay.
yeah, but they're all elected. That's what I was curious.
So I think we probably do get the most independent view of it here.
Yeah.
It's a shame because the authority uses a company called B. Virtual, and they're very big into government. That would be a conflict of interest for them because they do a couple things on the borough side, so therefore they could not do ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would have been easy, but this was fine, and this company, Maher Duschel,
Yeah.
is fairly reputable. So
Okay.
looking forward to it.
And they provided as part of, I mean, it's in the packet, so you guys can see it, but one of the things that they provided was references, which is looks good, individuals that we can talk about other municipalities who have leveraged them as a firm. And they do have information on, like information security, so Brian was talking about that portal. They do have an entire section about how they protect that information, in rest and in transit and things like that. Which are also good to see have firms coming from that. Just to provide a little bit of additional context to this, so the prior auditor that we had retired, and therefore we were kind of, it was a necessity for us to go out. We did an RFP at the end of last year that didn't get any responses initially. We reissued, we did get one response. So that's sort of how this came about.
Thank you.
Sure. No problem. Any other questions on the resolution prior to moving it forward? Okay. May I have a motion to accept resolution 2026-04, the borough auditor for 1 year term? Motion. Excellent. May I have a second? A second. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Excellent. And so finally, the third item that we have is the police chief appointment under finance and admin committee. And I had some information to share on that, and then Mayor Gretzi has some information to share on that, just to kind of, provide an update on where everything stands in that respect. So we can start, Mayor Gretzi, and then I'll hand over to you. So we have received the full copy of the police chief succession plan on February 26th. And that evening we met with Chief Floyd just to walk through the overall framework. Very much appreciate the insight and the time and the information that was shared during that meeting. Full council then received a copy of the plan the following day, ensuring that everybody has a clear understanding of the full scope. So the development goals, the strategic training components, the 4-year progression of increasing involvement, engagement, and responsibility that was designed to build leadership experience within the department. In general, succession plan is a very important investment in the stability and strength of any department. It helps maintain continuity of oversight, preserves institutional knowledge, it supports operational efficiency, and it also provides extended hands-on training and development that isn't always possible or present when you have somebody that's hired external. And in addition to that, another benefit is that it demonstrates a meaningful path of growth for employees of that department, which is also very important as well. At the same time, it is essential that any leadership transition includes the appropriate due diligence. So the community in general deserves a process that is transparent, accountable, and aligned with best practices. And there are several ways that municipalities can go about sort of exercising this oversight and conducting this due diligence. So it could be external searches, it could be assessment centers, it could be panel interviews among the various different options. And depending on the circumstances, each of those options has their merits. And so in this case, because we already had a comprehensive internal development in place, we chose to leverage an external panel interview and allow the outcome of that panel interview to determine the next steps in the process. So bringing in chiefs from neighboring municipalities is a widely accepted best practice in law enforcement that provides an objective, professional assessment of an internal candidate's readiness, both technically and as a leader. It also helps to ensure that future action in the process is grounded in fairness, expertise, and community accountability. So at this point, I will turn over to Mayor Gretzi to talk about what this process looked like, who was part of it, when did it happen, what was reviewed for Corporal Evans.
Thank you. After last month's council meeting, when council did not have a copy of the chief's succession plan, I organized a panel of 3 chiefs who were willing to participate in the review board of Corporal Adams' qualifications, leadership abilities, and his overall ability to assume the position of chief of the Telford Borough Police Department this coming July. And this was to be supplemental information for council, outside opinions as to Corporal Adams' abilities in addition to Chief Floyd's recommendation. I reviewed the panel selections with Chief Mike Martin of the Franconia Police Department, and he was satisfied that the panel would give a fair and informed assessment of Corporal Adams. Chief Martin sat on the review panel that approved the promotion of Officer Adams to the position of corporal and is a well-respected police chief. The panel met on February 5th, 2026, in the conference room at the Telford Police Department. Each chief was given a packet containing Corporal Adams' resume, a copy of Chief Floyd's August 5th, 2022 succession plan, and the yearly completion of the accomplishments of Corporal Adams' goal. The panel met with Corporal Adams alone for over an hour. I was in the station, as was the police department's administrative assistant. No one else was present for the panel. The participants were Chief Ryan Devlin, Lansdale Police Department. Chief Devlin's recommendation reads as follows. Corporal Adams performed well during the interview. Although initially nervous, he quickly composed himself and responded confidently. Chief Floyd, a longstanding department member, has expressed strong confidence in Corporal Adams' ability to lead as the next chief of police of Telford Borough. Corporal Adams meets all the qualifications for the role and has demonstrated a clear passion for police work, the Telford community, and his department. My only recommendation is that he continue to build confidence in his abilities. In my opinion, Corporal Adams is well suited for the position of Chief of Police at Telford Borough. The next chief was Chief Mike Reagan from Dublin Police Department. Chief Reagan's recommendation says Corporal Adams performed well in this interview, and I feel he would be an excellent choice to lead the Telford Borough Police as they move away from the longtime leadership of Chief Randy Floyd. The 2 areas that stand out for me are his passion for his job and for Telford Borough as a whole, and his longtime knowledge of the borough and the department. These are unique qualities that another candidate would not likely bring to the job. The role of police chief requires much learning on the job and prioritizing the many issues that will compete for attention. I feel that Corporal Adams has the required intelligence and emotional intelligence to be successful in this role. As such, I highly recommend him for this position. The third participant was Chief Nick Nielsen from Bedminster Police. The chief has a one-sentence summary, but he has a few things that I'd like to read. It is without reservation that I recommend Corporal Adams for promotion to the Chief of Police. He also goes on to say in his letter, as an internal candidate, he brings not only institutional knowledge and established relationships, but also a deep personal investment in the success and safety of the borough. His commitment to service is evident in both his daily performance and his long-term strategic thinking. During the interview process, Corporal Adams articulated a clear and forward-thinking vision centered on community policing. He understands that modern law enforcement requires more than enforcement, it requires partnerships. And then the last thing is equally important. Corporal Adams outlined practical and achievable improvements for the agency. His vision includes enhancing officer training, strengthening internal accountability, leveraging technology for efficiency and transparency, and fostering a culture of professional development within the department. I received the written reports from each chief and gave them to the president and vice president of the council and made them a part of Corporal Adams' personnel file. The conclusion from each chief is obvious. And at this time, I would recommend that council do whatever they need to do to ensure that Corporal Adams is the successor to the team.
Thank you very much. So Gary, just a couple other, sort of things to tie this up. So obviously throughout the process, it has also highlighted a couple opportunities to strengthen just our internal HR framework. So, if anybody's worked for a corporation before, there's typically an HR department that you go to. In smaller municipalities like this, that doesn't exist. So you could have responsibilities shared across the borough manager, across department heads, across the finance and admin committee. And so as we move through 2026, I think one of the major initiatives is to collaboratively formalize and standardize some of these processes. Developing clear employee handbooks, job descriptions, performance evaluations, and succession planning procedures. I think to be able to have that, have people get involved in it, have people be aware of it. I think that will definitely sort of help a lot of this, so that, both employees and employers have clear expectations as to how things progress within the borough. And the hope is that these improvements will create stronger checks and balances. It will increase transparency for residents. It will support a healthier and more consistent organizational culture. And the goal is to encourage staff development, clarify the roles and expectations, ensure that all hiring and advancement practices reflect fairness, professionalism, and accountability to the community. And so I think with that, the intent then is to move forward with convening a meeting of the Finance and Admin Committee before the end of this month, to sort of tie up and take the next steps as far as salary negotiations and the like that are required to sort of advance and complete this process. So any questions that anyone has on that? And that's all.
Is there any way we can get something a little bit less ambiguous? Or is Corporal Adams being offered the position?
Yes, that's what you're going to be moving forward with at the start. My apologies. Salary and negotiation package for.
Right. Okay, I just wanted it on the record that that's what's happening.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So again, there's no motion for this, because we need to move through the next step of the process. But we will be working as the Finance and Admin Committee to set that meeting up before the end of the month so that we can get that through the process. Understanding that we are working on an abbreviated timeline at the moment. Any other questions before we move on to this meeting? Move on to the planning and zoning.
I want to do one other thing on the finance and that.
Yes.
Brian, I do see here that you met with the actuary, talked about the actuarial gap.
actuarial.
Thank you for that.
Where you go?
Study, for the police department M&O fund, and that it's done every odd year, and then it was completed last year. Has that been forwarded over to, Officer Kim?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I know that, I'm sorry. Yes, I know that it was sent over, but have we notified him that that is the latest one we have, and we won't have one till 2027?
That's correct.
Okay,
We do not do an independent one. I was not aware of how it was done here. It's actually done through, PMRS,
okay,
which is the retirement, Pennsylvania Retirement
so,
acronym.
yes,
Pennsylvania Municipal.
Yeah. Yeah, so, they do them on every odd year.
okay. I just want to make sure that because I did see the note going back and forth that we gave him the latest one and that we were gonna check for an updated one. But I just want to make sure there's no expectation that
Yeah,
we'll be getting one for 2026.
correct. You will get one for 2027 will be the next one.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Any other questions for finance and admin? Okay, moving on to planning and zoning again. The Indian Valley Regional Planning Commission did meet this past month. The end of February. And we did our reorg for the organization. And then we have the last two chapters that we're working on for the county's municipal comprehensive plan. The expected rough draft is now going to be May. So we will look to do presentations by Eric Giroux, or another member of the Montgomery County Planning Commission sometime over the summer, early summer expected. And then adoption of that by the end of the year. Again, really for Telford, there's not a ton of change. We don't have a lot of potentially developable green space. We don't have, which is probably good. We spent most of this meeting talking about data centers. So that's actually one of the reasons that it's taking a bit longer to get the comprehensive plan together, is because as the idea of data centers is kind of taking off. We don't have anything in the current 20-year comprehensive plan to address data centers. So the county in general is kind of pulling that back in to figure out how we would address potential data centers anywhere in the Indian Valley. So that is just one of the items that we're working on, and then we'll have the rest of it through, again, hopefully by May. So we will have the Montgomery County Planning Commission coming and presenting both to our planning commission and to the meeting, just to let everybody know sort of what that means for Telford as far as adoption. Any questions on the planning and zoning? We do have sorry.
Yeah. I see today that there was supposed to be a meeting with Commissioner DeBello, and I believe, I forget which congressional representative, and one of the congressional representatives were supposed to have some sort of joint meeting that was canceled. Will that input be included in that plan? Or are those just two totally separate functions that are happening?
That is a good question. I'm not entirely sure. So the Indian Valley Regional, if there was anything that is impacted specifically like Indian Valley Regional Planning, it may.
Okay.
But it is very specific to sort of the preservation and development of just the municipalities within the Indian Valley. So that may be something that's a bit more countywide.
Okay. Yeah, are the county commissioners involved in that as well? Or?
So the county has a separate division, the Montgomery County Planning Commission, that sort of manages all of this plan. So they kind of sit atop that. But they don't necessarily, all of the various different departments within the county structure work together. So, this is more geared towards the development of the region, preservation development, things like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the planning commission will be meeting Wednesday, March 25th at 7:30 p.m. Any other questions? Okay, moving on, Katie, Brina, and the environment.
Nothing at this time.
Okay.
Quick question. Are you gonna do it?
I am doing, I think we're doing a joint thing with the library again. When they do their, cleanup.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Katie. So next we have the Public Works and Building and Plant Committee. We have both Patrice and Lauren as co-chairs of that. So,
Yeah, we had a lovely conversation with Lauren. Got to learn a lot about what's going on. He said something about Earth Day. I was like, we have to make sure that they have enough time to get together all the people for the trash. So I think it's already sort of paying off. And with some good ideas that came out of that. Lauren, do you have anything to add to that?
I know moving forward, we are going to start a process with Warren, and that is that we will be meeting with him quarterly basis. So he can tell us what's happening, and what's working for his guys, what's not working, and ways that our community can better support them. I know one of the things that came out of the meeting too, other than a lot of great info and learning stuff for Patrice and I, was everyone's favorite topic, alleyways. Because Patrice and I are looking into how other boroughs committees support their public works departments, and we might be able to do it more on the policy side, where we look at what Telford's best practices are for alleyway management. I know I don't want to pay for any of it, but myself, that's my goal. We're definitely looking at that. But yeah, it was a great meeting, and thank you for taking the time on your busy day and still allowing to talk with us and educate us.
Have you talked to Sam, Tim on the alleyway?
No,
Have you-
not yet.
I suggest.
It's on my to-do.
It's an issue with them for the past 2 years. Let's
Okay.
check it.
There you go.
Excellent. Any questions for Patrice and Lauren on the Public Works Buildings? Okay. Update. Okay, thank you guys very much for that. Next we have the Public Safety Committee. Mr. Sparks.
We had a meeting, last week, we came up with some, goals for the coming year. We're gonna be, have a couple streets that we wanna, resolve parking issues on. We wanna update the discharge of firearms, ordinance. We're gonna be working on snow emergency, declaration. We want to finalize a new burn ordinance that's carried over from last year. And we want to be talking about potentially doing some safety upgrades on 4th Avenue. And potentially looking at how we're going to deal with keeping fire hydrants clear in the coming year. As was pointed out with these last snowfalls, some of the fire hydrants disappeared until it became, 70 degrees, and then suddenly, oh, look, there's a fire hydrant. So those are some things we want to be working on in the coming year. And we'll be soliciting some feedback from the community on some of these items as we move forward. First item we have up there is the fee schedule. The reason we need to have a fee schedule here is as the borough takes care of things around the borough, we have folks that may not want to participate in cleaning up their properties or whatever. They may not want to shovel their walks, and we need to have a way that if we, the borough steps in and goes ahead and takes care of that. We've had several properties that were, we'll call it semi-abandoned. Some of them that we'll even call abandoned, that were owned by a bank and really weren't taken care of. So the borough had to step in and take care of it. We have some folks that apparently aren't liking shoveling their walks. So we need to have a way to recoup that money. In addition, we've had cases in the last couple of years where we've had emergencies in the borough where we've had large scale fuel spills that have affected roadways. And we need to get, when we clean that up, we need to have a way to recoup those funds and go let the insurance companies know that, hey, there was several hundred gallons of the roadway that had to be cleaned up. And it took time, money, and effort to make that happen. So that's what this ordinance is going to allow us to go ahead and do and recoup those monies where appropriate. Now, there are a lot of whereases here and therefores in this resolution. Can we, do I have to read it all, or can we just go with what's on the display here? I don't think you have to read through the entire book.
The highlight is what I explained. It says that, the highlight I have from section 1 is for small equipment, weed whackers, chainsaws, blowers, snow blowers, etc. $20 an hour, hand tools, $15 an hour, laborers, 45, section 2, hourly rates, laborers, $45 an hour, operators, 55 an hour, foreman, $65 an hour, public works director, $75 an hour. Are you really worth that? I think you're worth it far.
Less.
Administrative fee.
Yes.
If you
Equipment rates without operator, dump truck, 10-wheeler, $125 an hour, 6-wheel dump truck, $100 an hour, 5-ton dump truck, $80 an hour, backhoe, $125 an hour, utility truck, $100 an hour, pickup truck, $80 an hour. And here's the key, it has a minimum of 3-hour charge.
But could you,
rent a 10-wheeler, I just call over, I get the 10-wheeler, the driver.
3 hours.
Good Friday.
So, that's what this is about, so that we can go ahead and recoup, when the borough has to step into the breach here to take care of properties that aren't being taken care of, or we have an emergency that we have to go ahead and expend borough funds, equipment, and time, so that we can, recoup that as we move forward.
so do you have a cost example of like a specific item, just to give an idea of what that would be? Like a specific example, like,
I actually have a real world example.
Okay.
We did.
that's perfect.
We had a tractor trailer split run into a fire hydrant and split a saddle tank and dumped several hundred gallons of diesel fuel on 4th Avenue, right there at the, gas pumps. That, ran down the street, ran into the storm sewers, and was a blessed mess. On that, we had to mobilize, outside of the fire company, we had the borough step in. They brought trucks over the sand. They brought equipment out and personnel to go ahead and spread the sand, clean up the sand, so that the roads were safe for people to travel. So that's a real world example of where we would use something like this.
So what would that have cost using that fee schedule roughly?
Oh, God. A lot, because we had at least 2 dump trucks there. We had multiple township employees there. And not only were we using them there, we also had them going and getting equipment to help with the cleanup. So something like that, $2,000 easily.
Okay.
Warren, you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that for that particular one would have been everywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 with material, man hour, and equipment. The one on West Broad Street with the sweeper and the dry sweep, we'd have been every bit of $5,000 for that equipment and personnel and time.
Thank you.
So if you just take a simple, let's say someone didn't, we're just gonna use mowing lawns. You know, they're gonna have to pay for a pickup truck to take the lawnmowers over there.
Right.
Then they gotta pay for the lawnmower itself, then they gotta pay for the person. So you're looking at $80 times 3 hours, even if it takes you 15 minutes to mow the lawn. Then you gotta pay for the person. That's times 3 hours. Then you gotta pay for the actual mower itself, gas usage. It should be an uncomfortable price, so the person does not want to have the borough do that again. We want to encourage them, you know, if there is a homeowner who can't do it, is to go out and get someone who can do it for you. And it will be much cheaper for a contractor to do it than it will be for the borough.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So how do we have to proceed with this resolution?
So, so you need to.
So I would make the motion that we move ahead with resolution 2026-05 that enumerates the costs here for the work. Borough equipment if it needs to be used.
I'll second motion.
Excellent. Is there quickly any questions on that before we move to vote? Excellent. So, all in favor of moving forward the resolution 2026-05 of TWB session, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Hearing none, the ayes had it, and we will move forward with adopting resolution 2026-05 for the updated fee schedules. The next item of business is your discussion for the snow and ice emergency ordinance.
Okay, we had a recent snow and ice emergency. We'll be looking at to go ahead and update the provisions that are in here, make sure they more closely match what is going on in the real world here. You know, somebody brought up that, you know, chains on cars today are not that common. And having snow tires on cars today is not that common either. A lot of people go in on all weather tires, so we're going to be upgrading that. And we're also going to be upgrading the verbiage on the chief of police, how we go ahead and deal with that. The police chief is not intact, so we're going to update that as well. And we are also going to update, if you go down a little further, the fine structure. As a general comment, the fine structure that we have in our ordinances here are a little behind. So we're gonna have to go ahead and update that and make sure that we get that corrected. One of the things that we do, if we do change and it does pass that we move away from the snow tires and chains part of this, we will have to have a signage correction on the streets that are indicated as being listed in the ordinance as snow emergency routes. Any questions?
Does this include failure? Is this just strictly for driving, or does this include failure to remove snow from
Totally
walking?
separate ordinance.
Okay, good.
Okay. This is, you can't drive on the street, you can't park on the street. Okay, you can drive, I'm sorry, you can drive on the street if you meet the criteria that says, okay, I'm not driving on there in my rear wheel drive, you know, 1969 Cadillac. You know,
You can't get stuck on the street.
correct.
One of the big issues that we saw too, Kayla, if you can move just up a little bit to look at the streets. So while some of these streets still need to be, you know, parking either on one side or no sides of the street, there are some other streets that are very narrow when there's parking on both sides of the street. And then you add, you know, a vehicle with a how wide plow?
11 foot.
11-foot plow. It gets a little scary for these guys to come down there because the snow doesn't always make your vehicle react the way you think it's going to. So what we're thinking about doing is possibly expanding this list, at least during snow emergencies, is to allow for one side of the street to not have parking on there. Again, we have not decided that that's going to be a discussion that where we can decide which streets we think. And I think a lot of that is going to come from the public works crew because they're the ones out there doing it. They're the ones who are driving the streets with the plows. I know everybody is gonna say their street's too narrow and they need parking, you know, no parking on one side of the street. I don't know if that's feasible here. I think that's something that's, you know, up for discussion. And hopefully, you know, I'm sure we'll get some good feedback from Public Works guys and then, you know, Warren will pass that on to us.
So more to come on that. Now that it's warm, we're gonna talk about snow emergency. So I think that'll be a good spot.
I think question two on the discussion point, the fire company had a lot of calls during the past couple snow emergencies, right? I mean, I live like 2 blocks down the road, you guys were constantly going out even with the emergency happening, so I imagine it's difficult to get the trucks out and about when you have snow and then people parking them not supposed to.
And how it works for snow, for emergencies like that, when we're going out, if we need it, we stopped ahead of time, we talked to Warren, we figured out how we're gonna talk to Warren. We do have a common radio channel where we can talk to them. And if we were going someplace, we call and say, hey, we're going there. We do know that we went to other municipalities where the front bumper of the fire truck was the snowplow. And, that's never fun. Uh, you know, less fun than being in the snowplow. So we did set up to be able to handle that. Some of the, incidents that we went to were, medical emergencies where we, put a four-wheel drive pickup truck out in place of a full-size truck because it's easier to get out and maneuver with that, so.
One of the last things, I know we talked about, it, I think it was brought up before, is fire hydrants.
It's almost-
The residents are responsible for clearing their fire hydrants that are on their property. What we did, I know in Lansdale, we utilized our GIS and we created a fire, adoption program where you adopted it and it was kind of, and we put it on a map and actually gave people credit for clearing it. They took pictures, and it actually worked, pretty well. Not all of them were done. But some of them were, and they were pretty proud of their work that they had done. Some of these things, maybe we add some of that into kind of help encourage people to clear their fire hydrants, because it's really for their safety.
And I will tell you, I argued with the public works guys several times in the hydrant in front of my house. I'd show it out, they'd say, it's not quite good enough. It covered up a little bit, you need to do it again. But, that's just the nature of, people trying to keep the roads clear.
I paid more to do that.
How long do you think the residents know that they're responsible for doing? And I never knew it when you talked about it last meeting. I still don't know.
I think what we do is we make sure that we publicize that
Right.
next winter, because we're not gonna have any more snow this year.
And Jason.
I mean, like working in the yard and you just threw a big monkey.
He come and do that for you.
So yes, looking to make sure that we publicize that out so everybody knows. I think that's an important thing for us to do.
So, especially for some of the municipalities, when I worked with them, they had poles on the fire hydrant. And some are like a GIS with it too. I think that's the nice thing to try, but I do think people need to be advised that's your responsibility.
One of the challenges we have, and I will speak for the water authority, I will tell you as a fire department, when we go to hook up to a hydrant that has one of those flags, it actually can cost us more time. Because if we're gonna hook up to the big connection on front, which is called a steamer connection, you have to take the flag off the side connection, unscrew it, take the flag off, screw it back in, and then go to make your connection. The second problem that we have with it is that, because I've been in other places where we've had those, is if you go with the one that has the whipped antenna type on it, as you step on it to try to do what you have to do, it invariably comes up and smacks you in the side of the head. Yes, use that imagery.
Yeah.
And the third problem with it is, there are vandalism problems. That kids come along and bend them over and bend them in all sorts of different shapes. So, yeah, that's one of the things that is like a double-edged sword. If everybody played nicely and nobody damaged them, yes, that would be a decent thing. However, that's not the reality of the situation. That's it as well.
Okay.
Good question.
How about the fire hydrants that are not on the residential properties, for instance, I can do it with we do it because fire is a bus stop. So we clear walkways, but we hydrant, but it would be responsible.
That's where we're gonna have to sit down and figure out some of those earlier on institutional property, commercial property. It would be easy to say they should be responsible for it. That should be an easy one, but it's not always that cut and dry. So, good feedback. Okay.
Final item is for the public safety committee is the motion for the street closure for the SABL opening date.
Yes, that would be a motion for our closed street, closure restricted for special events to move that Telford Borough Council by the power vested in its elected officials has designated the existing code of borough of Telford, chapter 15, section 106, had the authority to close 4th Street between 99 South 4th which is the post office, to West Broad Street on April 18th, 2016, rain date of April 25th, 2026, between 8:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. for the Southampton Area Baseball League Opening Day Parade.
Excellent. Any questions on this motion before we move it? Okay. May I have a motion to move the street closure for the SABL opening date parade? May I have a second? A second. Excellent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. Motion passes. Anything else for the public safety committee? Excellent. Finally, we move to the development and culture committee. Mr. Taylor.
We have two events coming up. We have the Easter egg hunt on March 28th at 10 a.m. We'll have ages 10 and under. There'll be 3 different lanes by age group. It's rain or shine. Bring your own basket. There'll be the egg hunt prizes. The Easter bunny will be there. At each lane will have a golden egg, and golden egg will be the grand prize for that lane of the age group to get a special gift, which is a big Easter egg basket. And that's at Stover Park on 4th Street, right at Crest Ave, which goes towards the school. We take up that whole corner section there for the event. And second, our 8th or 9th annual, I haven't found the date yet, so you think you could call Wednesday, April 1st, 6 o'clock to 8:30, Perseverance Fire Company on 2nd Street. We're still looking for some folks. We usually average about 25 folks, and still tickets are available generally the week before the event, just coming up very soon. We sell out, so we urge you quickly to get your tickets. It's food, there's music, beer, wine, water being sold, and we usually have 25 folks. So I sincerely urge you, don't eat food before you come, because there's enough food there to make yourself stuffed, and there's appetizers and everything else. It's a great event. Any questions on those events? And next is we're looking to have a partial closure for the streets for the Telford Night Market. We're still, Telford Hatton's working with the details on advising public. We're all of our parking spots. We're going to talk to Warren after the meeting here in 2 items. But we're looking to, for Wednesday nights only, from 4:30 to 9 p.m. Periods affected Wednesday nights, May 27th through August 26th. We're looking at closing Hamilton between East Madison and Hamlin Ave, and also East Hamlin from Washington Street to South Hamilton. That will give us like an L shape for all of our vendors. The vendors will be in a parking lot right next to David Stokes Community Building. The food trucks will be on the street, parking for the vendors will be on the street, and then going down Hamlin, we're going to have extra vendors going down there. So if you go on Telford Happenings website or Telford Night Market, we're frequently updating everything as we go along with parking and all the vendors.
There were several questions about that online. I don't know if you guys had seen that.
Yes, our events coordinator responds to those.
Good.
If you see something responded to like that, because you look at that word quickly than I will. If you see anything, feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure it gets answered. The current was asking something, one of the ones I saw was currently about the parking. That's all I'm addressed tonight before.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions from the group on the motion? Okay. With that, could you just,
Motion to approve.
yeah, can you read through the motion and then we'll do the motion to approve? Sorry.
All right, motion, traffic on streets closed, restrictions for special events. I move Telford Borough Council by the power vested in elected officials as detailed in the existing code of the Borough of Telford, chapter 15, section 106. Have authority to close South Hamilton Street from East Madison Ave to East Hamlin Ave in both directions. And closure of East Hamlin Ave from South Hamilton Street to Washington Street in both directions from 4:30 to 9 p.m. on Wednesday nights, May 27, 2026 through August 26, 2026.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have the motion? Motion. Excellent. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Mayor Lynn?
Suggesting.
Any other questions or anything else, John, for you?
Nope.
Okay, wonderful. Next we go into other business. Any other business before the council this evening?
Systems come up on your list.
Yeah, that's okay. I did just want to mention, I omitted at the top of the meeting indicating that we will have an executive session on real estate matters. After the meeting, votes will be taken after that session. Any other business or anything for the council? Okay. Did you listen?
Well, I did want to make sure that we got the questions answered. Somebody did have a couple of questions.
Oh, yes.
That
so,
were,
yeah.
sorry, I just wanted to
That's okay. No worries.
try to help her out.
Next, we have the citizens' comments on non-agenda items. So any members of the audience this evening who have comments on the non-agenda items, please feel free to come up to the podium.
Right. I signed in, so that.
Yeah, perfect. If you could just state your name and my names.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Tina Hill. Been a resident here, property owner, 270 North Main in Telford Borough. Couple of questions. I did read something and I was looking at the landlord when that came up. What is the percentage of rental properties in the borough?
So Brian, do you know the percentage?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, the number 42% sticks out in my head.
It's 42 to 48%, and I get it mixed up whether that is people in the borough that live in apartment units or living units.
Yes.
Side rent, so, but it's 100% of the residents.
Yeah.
In Telford Borough are
Renter.
renters. Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure. So on that, I was hoping that we could come to some sort of agreement for a bulk trash pickup. So as we have tenants moving in and out of buildings, our trash pickup is very selective on what they'll take. So we wind up having TVs, couches, mattresses for over a year. That has mice, rodents, everything else. So there's gotta be a way to be able to clean up Telford. I'm happy to participate. I'm happy to lead the effort. Another thing is no indoor furniture should be allowed outside. There's couches, recliners, like sleeper sofas that are on porches on Main Street. So we need to get that cleaned up. And Warren was nice enough to visit the alley, Station Alley, which looks like Beirut. The potholes are unacceptable. So I actually called 3 times before I got a call back. And it's not safe for my elderly neighbors. It's not safe for anyone that's walking down there. They're 4 feet by 2 feet. And there has to be at least 40 potholes in a 1 block radius. So it's too much. So can we get it paved? There's like 2 alleys that are not paved in all of the borough. And kind of wondering why 3 years I've lived there, I don't see any movement. Anyone?
I know, so I am with the Public Works Committee too. Teresa and I this week we're working on this at the last meeting for and shining a little bit light. So I'm at the exact same, because not about that specific alley, but about alleys in general. And I know my personal experience is that, because my alleyway is paved, but I do get potholes in there from the trash trucks that go down. And when in the past, this probably is not official borough recommendation, but I have politely emailed the borough and they were able to come out and patch the potholes when they have leftover tar at the end of the summer when they're doing it. But it's been on the homeowner to reach out to do that. And currently in the borough code, Telford's been very generous where the borough has been able to come patch potholes in alleys. But as of right now, it is fully up to the homeowners to manage and pay for it, which is a very expensive thing.
Did you pay for the paving of your alley?
So I did not, because this has been, whenever they go and have leftover asphalt, they go around town and just fix potholes that they see. So I usually walk around town and like send them a full list towards the end of the season when that happens, but I have two legs and I don't.
So you're saying that the property owners,
As the
and the
county
land
code
codes
is
is more rental properties right on
Yeah.
North Bay Street.
which, yeah,
So I can go find who those people are and they say, hey, guys, we need to do something with this alley.
Yeah, so as the current codes are written, what is supposed to happen is that all the homeowners on the alley are supposed to get together, have a powwow, and all equally share the cost of maintaining the alley when it comes to snow plowing and paving, and then covering the costs for that. That's a perfect world. That's super impractical, I understand.
Yeah.
Which I also would not want to pay for it in my alley. So this is something we're absolutely looking into, for the borough. And I know you mentioned the two streets that aren't paved. I'm assuming those are gravel
I
alleyways.
don't know what it is,
Oh,
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All I see is holes.
Yeah.
So it looks like hell, the bottom of the earth, I don't know what it is. It's, I mean, I guess Warren, you drove down it. What did you think?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely needs some repair. Part of the problem with that particular alley is that there are multiple rental units on there with way more traffic on that alley than
Yeah.
it should have. That travel at higher speeds and tear it up more than it should be, along with independent trash haulers that we might have 4 at minimum, but generally 8 to 10 trash trucks every week going up and down it.
And then I know with the apartment units, I live next to an apartment unit that has more cars than they should as well. It is part of the reason, I feel like it'd be good for someone to go make sure that the amount of cars they have parked in their spaces that the unit has approved matches the amount of cars that are parked there and they're not being parked 2 or 3 cars deep. So I don't know if that would fall
Well,
under.
nobody in our alley can park 2, 3 cars deep without being in the alley.
Okay,
So everyone that's parked there is parked there legally.
okay, so that takes care of that.
So-
Okay, then.
Just, I can add here, alleys, so when I came here, alleys are a taboo subject in most municipalities. This is one of the only municipalities that I've come to that says that they have taken care of alleys before. Typically, they do not touch it for this particular reason. It's not a dedicated street, it's an alley.
So should I just be responsible for the 2 big holes behind my house or like?
I think we have a good plan of attack here. So we have a working session for the Borough Council to work on like policy and stuff next Monday. And we're still adding things to the agenda for that, but I will publicly say this now. I do want to add reviewing our pothole policy to the working session, because that way we can absolutely get it tackled or starting to be tackled at next Monday's meeting, because that's something Patrice and I are supposed to do anyway this month. But I would like to, and when I do put things on working sessions, I've started to do the 5-page packets with like background research and explaining everything. So that should be publicly available too when that comes out, but we will definitely add that to the working session on Monday.
All right, so is there a short-term solution,
I
long-term?
will,
For the next week.
I will say that we have had discussions because the precedence has been that we take care of alleys here.
Yeah.
My intent is to take care of the alleys here.
Yeah.
So, like any other street, it's going to cost money to pave it. That's something that we discussed this year, is to get money into capital, where right now there really isn't any money in capital. So all the money, we had agreed that we would increase taxes by 0.25 mils, which equates to about $50,000. All of that money is going into capital. Alleys are going to be on that list. The thing is it's going to take a couple of years. Now, in the meantime, we are planning on going out and doing some maintenance work on some alleys when it gets a little bit nicer. Whether it be taking millings, filling the potholes, rolling it, so try and get it as tight as we possibly can. The issue, again, like Warren said, is the amount of traffic that drives down those alleys. And not only are they cars, but there are trash trucks. Most of the time, your trash truck's driving down your alley, and there's 7 or 8 different ones that go down there a week. So that comes the problem. So short-term answer, yes. And we can discuss that over the next couple of days to try and figure out, maybe get out and try and figure out which ones need it the worst. It sounds to me like this one could meet that criteria.
Yeah, we have been out since the snow has gone, you know, while it was frozen, there's not too much that we can do. Unfortunately, now that it's thawed, everything is blown out.
And it's mud.
Yes.
It's mud, mud, and mud. So that's why.
Well, from my understanding is that it's an easement situation, meaning each homeowner owns or business owns their little piece.
Half of
Yeah.
it. Typically, that's how it is done. So you would be responsible for your half of the alley from your property line to property line to midline. The only thing is what if you have an alley and you have the creek behind you? Who's responsible for the other half then?
Or you have an uncooperative neighbor, of course, that doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah, well, I guess our neighbors behind us should be responsible for cutting their trees too, instead of growing into the alley halfway. So.
And I think with the rental inspections too, that they're gonna start doing this year, that'll help a lot with, like tenant properties that weren't maintained, like the ones that you mentioned on your street. So that will definitely catch those issues now and be able to provide an avenue to correct those.
So trash, holes, and no paper furniture.
Yeah.
Yep,
All right,
wrote it down.
okay, I'm happy to get you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You mentioned about the work, so I understand was working on this plan that has been proved on the web, but they were going to go through based on their public works people and the police and fire. Which are the worst ones of all? I'm gonna break it down, so like at 3 or 4 levels, so these are all the worst, we're gonna tackle them first and just get down the list.
Yeah.
Because you'll never do them all at once.
Yeah, we've been discussing that. One of the things that I had done in Lansdale with the GIS was do a pavement management program to be able to tell which roads are the worst, which ones need to be replaced. So this where as you're replacing them, it keeps track of it in the GIS. So 7 to 10 years from now, we'll be able to tell that it was done 7 to 10 years ago. So we know what type of maintenance that will take at that point. The issue is we don't have a GIS department like I did down there where that was the sole responsibility of it. But you know, one of the things we are doing, and like Warren has said, they have been out checking some, and I know there are some. I've gotten multiple calls on alleys, and all I can say is, 1, I'm sorry, and 2, please be patient because we are working on it. So.
Question 2, so if someone has a bad pothole in their alley, what is the best way for them to let the borough know? Should they send an email to the borough general email account with a photo of it and a location?
I prefer that. I have gotten those and those seem to work the best. You know, phone calls, I don't get to see what it is. So, because, you know, your definition of a really bad pothole might not be a really bad pothole. But if I have a picture of it, then I can say, hey, Warren, this is a pretty bad pothole. We should go out and fix that. So, I would prefer an email. You know, manager@telfordborough.org. There is also on the website you can go, and it has a place to attach pictures. So feel free, email me, and we'll go from there. Try and keep track of where they are and try and take the ones that have the most, and then maybe start doing work on those first.
Thank you very much. Any comments?
I'm gonna touch on something what she said, but I didn't want me to. My name is Michael Burris, I live 361 West Broad Street. This is my mother, she's here also tonight because of this. She's lived in that house 60 years. And pardon my language, I call bullshit to some of what you said. The borough has been promising her and my father, who's deceased, that they would pave Franklin Alley on the 300 block for almost 60 years. So don't tell me it's gonna take another couple of years because I don't believe it. It needs more than millings. That ground has been packed down for 60 years worth of trucks traveling over, cars traveling over. You have to mill that dirt out and repave and almost pave it with millings to get it to stay.
Right.
They put the stones in now where the millings and the first trash truck that goes through pushes all that stuff out. And we're back to the same place with the potholes. The problem with Franklin and Alley, which is behind the 300 block on West Broad Street, there is a woman living back there in an apartment. This past winter, if there would have been a medical emergency back there, EMS would have played hell getting in there to her. Because when the snow emergency is on Broad Street, all the cars go into the alley and then your guys can't plow it properly. That's another issue in and of itself. Because it's partially paved at one end, I have requested for almost a decade that they come in by the VFW entrance, plow it into the corner, come around the corner and plow up so the stones don't end up in her yard. And that's full now. It's not as bad as it normally is because normally they start at 3rd Street, push all the way down to where her property is, which is paved. So they push it to the side when they get to paved area, and all the stones for the entire alley end up in her yard, which we then have to remove so we can mow the grass. Another issue with alleyways, at 361, I don't know what Tom's house, the neighborhood Tom's house, there's an alleyway that goes between there. For 50 some years, my parents and the neighbors thought they owned that. You own it. It has not been maintained in 60 years.
It hasn't been plowed or anything.
The homeowners have taken care of it. I do it now, but I'm disabled. I have bad knees. I have to, I have trouble doing it myself, but I do what I can. Yes,
Which alley was that again?
Franklin Alley is the one in the back.
Right, which one were you just talking about?
That one has no name.
Okay.
You'd have to go by, like I said, we're 361. We're the only house on the street that has a enclosed porch.
Okay,
We're on the VFW side.
okay.
So,
You know which one? Okay, we know. I got
yeah,
it.
I was over this with your predecessor, his predecessor, and it was just, well, I felt like it was beating my head against the wall. I gave up. One of the guys, for the first time in 60 years, wanted to clear it for me. He saw me struggling out in front. His plow was too wide. He pulled up some plantings or some edging I have on there, but that bed's going away, so it's not a big deal. But for you guys to plow it is going to be a big liability because at the end, because it is such an old alley, there's 2 garages with almost no space. You couldn't get your 11-foot plow through there. I've plowed, I know you couldn't. So I've talked to the chief. People drive through there since they found out it's public alley, like it's Indy. There are 2 garages at the end. Anybody walking in that alley is at risk. I had talked to one of the previous borough managers about the borough deeding it back to the 2 owners on either side and making it private, closing it off, whatever. I was told the fire department needed it for egress. If you can get a fire truck to do that, more power to it.
I don't want my garage taken away a couple times.
Well, the garage has been there as far as I know from what I understand of the law. You couldn't touch it because it's been there for over 100 years. Like the house is 125 years old, so you can't, the garage, there was none of the regulations you have now stating it couldn't be there. And my last thing is that I know your guys' job is tough. I'm not trying to make light of what you guys do with the snow removal, but the last big snowstorm, they said I have a disability. I have a snow blower. I went out and none of my neighbors were home. I cleared from the corner at the VFW to 3 houses up above us before my legs started to give out. I got back down to the alley in question. One of your guys flew down the street and put the entire sidewalk covered over again. Now, as far as I'm concerned, borough employees work for the taxpayers. They're supposed to make our jobs easier. I'm not allowed to make their job harder by throwing snow out to them. You can't tell me they can't drive slower
and not push as much snow up on the sidewalk. I've plowed for 40 years off and on. I know I could do it myself, but it don't work for the borough. So that being said, like I said, I'm not faulting your guys. It's just a lack of training, and it's hard to train for snow. I know that because it's all you can only do it from the air. But the main one, Franklin Alley, needs to be addressed. It's a nightmare. And like I said, it's been promised for almost 60 years. Might as well say 60 years. I'll be 60 in May. They've been there since October of the year I was born. So it's getting a little tiring with nothing being done. We were told one time you couldn't do it because if you pave it, you have to have stormwater removal. We'll let you use her 418 feet in the back that goes down to the sewer line to put a drain line in. Put the stormwater runoff in there. We don't use it. It's just something we have to know. But something has to be done because if that woman is back there and needs an ambulance, and you can't get in, it's going to be a nightmare. The same way with the people that moved in next door was 2 or 3 years back, have 2 small children. They're playing in that alley and somebody goes down there as fast as they've been going through and hits one of them kids. You own the alley, you're at fault, or at least partially, because you can't put signage up. I talked to Chief Floyd about that. He said there's nowhere to put a slow sign or stop sign because it was set up before you had any kind of right of way on the sides. And if you did, you'd be taking half of my mom's property to put something up. So I don't know what you're going to do, but you need to do something.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That goes back to what I was saying about easements and like understanding which ones are public and which ones aren't. And I think it sounds like there's been discussion about that lots of times. I'm new to the borough, so, but hopefully we can start to tackle that and get some actual work. And if that means that we have to, educate different folks about like what they should or shouldn't do, can and can't do, whether it's supposed to be plowed or not supposed to be plowed, whether we're being nice by paving it or, you know what I mean? I think we need to sort of get a little bit more firm in what we're doing so that everybody knows what's expected of them. And you aren't sitting there thinking, oh, they are supposed to do it. And if they're not, like, you need to know that too.
Yeah, well, one thing I didn't mention is last year, we had a little bit of a property line dispute with the neighbors. So my mom paid to have a guy come out and shoot the property lines. The neighbors chipped in on it so we know what it is. He marked what we own in the alley and what would from there would be your responsibility. Now, like I said, behind my mom's garage, it's not an issue because she paid down her property and had it paved because the snow removal was so bad before I moved in with her, she couldn't get her car in and out because it would get icy and she couldn't get through the garage door. She'd get out and couldn't get back in or couldn't get out. So it's paved. I don't mind cleaning that. I clean up after the borough guys are through there. But 3 years ago, the borough plowed stones down there. I didn't see them. I was ruined an $800 snow blower because I picked up a big chunk of rock with the plow pushed down. That's why I like the whole alley paved. Makes everybody's job easier. You guys can plow with no problem, but you need to come through there and really look at it sometimes and see how the people park.
Yeah.
They park back there and make his job 100 times more difficult than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And the other problem that there's 2 businesses along there. There's Schaefer's roofing and siding, and Randy's Cycle Shack is right up there at the end. So that makes the end of the alley get narrower and narrower when they get busy. And if they're busy when the snow flies, you might not be able to get in there.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm not getting any younger. Getting the snow removed is getting harder and harder. I'm on disability. I'm on a fixed income, and so is she. Hiring outside people is not really an option. And with the thing you just discussed, well, you'd end up taking the house for liens because you come out and do it and we wouldn't be able to pay it. So, like I said, something needs to be done before it becomes a major issue or somebody gets hurt. I take the snow removal very seriously. I worked for places that, were for retail businesses where snow removal was key so the customers didn't fall. So the minute I can get out there, I make sure that people can walk on our sidewalk. I cleared that little alley that, has been like pardon the expression, a bastard nobody wanted there for a while. Just to make sure that people can get through there if they need to. But like I said, it's getting to the point where my frustration level is, above my head. I'm almost 7 feet tall. So it's something, the borough's got to do something, especially since you own that. If I owned it, I'd put an electric gate on the end, nobody would go through it. But before somebody gets hurt out there, and I mean, just 2 weeks ago, there's nobody who lives on the block. I have no idea why that person went down that little alley. But I think they were starting out in a drag race. They must have been doing 40 miles an hour because they went by so fast they couldn't even get a license plate. And, like I said, there's 2 garages at the end. Somebody walks out of one of them garages and comes around the corner and walk up there and somebody's driving like that, it's all over. There's no stop. And 3 times in the last 5 years, somebody's hit the rain gutter going through there. And then my mom has to pay to have it fixed because they don't, nobody has the common courtesy anymore to stop and say, hey, I hit your garage gutter. Here's my information, I'll pay for it. So I appreciate the council's time on that.
Thank you for coming out and providing us with that feedback. For both of you for coming out this evening, we appreciate it. And this is definitely things that we will.
I bet you I'm over the Well, I miss my dad and the borough president at the time that promised they'd pay that out and put it in writing. I brought it out here and showed it to him. All I have is my word and her word.
Yeah.
But like I said, my dad, up until he passed away, but whoever was the borough, the previous mayor, Jay Stover, he would go after him all the time. But he didn't pay that. Well, it's not in the budget this year. We'll get it next year. Well, after 60 years of hearing that, you said that's BS, and you're never going to do anything. So I appreciate you're new to the job, and you said you're going to get to it, but I'll believe it when I see it.
But and I will say that's something I have to get together with the solicitors on and actually get who owns what property and go through all the ordinance to make sure that we stay consistent. Because if we've already set the precedence that we've taken care of alleys, as I kind of said before, I don't want to take care of alleys. I don't know of any other borough manager who would want to take care of alleys. Unfortunately, you've already done it here, which means we have to continue to do it. The problem with paving an alley is you don't have curbs. So when people drive on the edges, it just keeps breaking off pieces and pieces and pieces, and they don't last very long.
Well, you can't even put curbing in there for all the things, so.
That would be correct. You wouldn't be able to. So that's what makes it so difficult to pave, because it's almost like you're wasting money to do it. Now, I'm not saying we are, because obviously it's something that's needed there, especially if we're plowing stones. I will say with these guys plow though, they don't know what's underneath the 10 inches of snow. They're plowing.
Yes, they do know, because you guys put the stone down. They don't put stone down there my entire life. They usually put some down in the spring, and maybe during the summer sometime if it's moved out. And then usually, not too early, not too late in the fall, because they know once the snow flies, the plow's just gonna push it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand that, but that's why I said, that's why, well, you say you don't want to take responsibility for the alleys. The alley on the other side of Broad Street, behind the firehouse, that alley has been paved since I was 10 years old. And the borough paved it the first time.
Yes, and that's why I said we've already set the precedence. If we hadn't set the precedent, we wouldn't pave it. But unfortunately, we've already done it. So even if we don't have the ordinances in place, we really should get the ordinances in place to ensure that we do cover the apples. Because if it's something we've already done, we've already done it, which means we have to continue to do it. That's something that we'll have to budget for moving forward, is taking care of all the alleys. A lot of things have been, I can't speak for any past borough managers. I've only been here, I've only been here since April. I've done the first budget, this first one ourselves. It is definitely something that's important to me is pavement management. So with that being said, I do want to add those to the process. But as you know, the process is expensive. And that's where we need to come up with a ranking system of, hey, this alley is the absolute worst. This is the first one we have to do. And it sounds like we're juggling two alleys here.
Well, and just in Warren's defense, I did not call the borough to complain about the alley.
I did.
Well, not Franklin Alley, you called about your alley, because I'm so frustrated with it.
Yeah.
I said, making a phone call here in previous administrations, might as well not send anything at all. They didn't do anything. If they didn't want to do it, they didn't do it. What got me fired up was, like I said, when I wish I knew who it was, because I know one of your guys, Terry. If I would have known who it was to plow all that snow back up there, you'd have lost him. I'd have lost my temper on him, and I'd be in jail right now because the chief would have had to arrest me for beating me. I was so mad. I said, that's it. I'm going to the next borough meeting. I'm going to complain, because now it's public record. If you don't do anything, I'll come back at you later. I don't mean that as a threat. It's just, that's how the process works. I understand that. So I know it takes time. But like I said, my mom and I have been hearing this stuff, me for almost 50 years and her for almost 60, that it's going to be taken care of. If I see something happening, I'll start to believe it. Otherwise, I'm just, I want to give you all due respect, but I just won't believe it until I see it.
And I fully understand that. After we're done here, I'm gonna give you one of my cards,
Okay,
all right? And you're gonna contact me and I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna walk down the alley with you,
okay,
all right?
fair enough.
All right.
I was couple deep enough, if she walked in, you'd lose her.
I will. I'm a good swimmer, so it'll be all right.
See, I'm not walking anymore like I used to. I had a heart attack, so I can't do a lot of stuff. But I do go out and walk around, and I gotta watch, because some of the
Yeah.
cars come flying through there like they're at a racetrack.
Yeah.
And, the other thing you guys gotta look at too is somebody said something about alleys and speed bumps. I believe it was you. You'd have to ask him, but the alley below us that goes between the VFW and the end of the property, the person that owned that paved it themselves and put speed bumps in. I believe that makes it tougher for his guys to plow that section. Because my history with speed bumps when I plowed, depending on the plow, you lose a lot of the snow you're pushing because it rises up and it doesn't catch it all when it comes down the other side. So I understand the value of speed bumps. But from the plowing perspective of the alleys, especially behind a snow emergency route, where you're gonna have an inordinate amount of cars at various intervals if you declare a snow emergency, they may not be the best thing for your men and your equipment.
Thank you very much to everyone. for the
I took detailed notes.
Any other public comments for this evening?
Thank you, for this one. I did want to add one thing that wasn't part of what I want to say. I've driven back behind Franklin Alley to do deliveries, and it's horrible back there. And this isn't even 2, 3, 4 years ago. So I'm sure it's a lot worse and gotten worse, and I hope we get a resolution for Stigari's thing. A couple things, because I know people talk. I'm going to address one thing. Yes, I did not stand up for the pledge or the invocation. That is my exercising of protest of current events in our country. So before that gets around. Speaking of the opening prayer, I would like to ask that the council please consider removing prayer from the beginning of the meeting. I know it's a long-standing tradition, but the thing is here, the prayers are always centered, Christian centered. There's never a prayer that is allowed to be brought forth for our Muslim community, our Hindu community, our pagan community, our non-religious community, Jewish community, etc. I'm not leaving anyone intentionally.
John, that's one thing, you're saying not allowed, there's no restrictions, that each individual who does the invocation is their personal invocation, so.
Right.
If someone wants to do that, they're allowed to do it. But
So-
I mean,
I understand. So maybe one thing I would suggest, if we are going to continue to have a prayer invocation, because honestly, it feels like, the majority seems to sway Christian. Maybe we can have bring in someone from the community to do an invocation that falls within their religion, rotate it. Instead of among council members, rotate the name among community members or community religious leaders to have a little more variety if we don't want to do away with it. Personally, I think it should be done away with, Constitution and all that, we don't want to have that perception of bias, but if we're going to keep it, maybe do something to keep it, make it a little more flavored, if you will. Because we're not all Christians, we're not all Catholics, we're not all Protestants, we're not all Jewish, we're not all, some of us are no religion.
We all listen to the same God.
And it would be nice to, see that representation expanded more. Thank you. Thank you.
If I could address that.
I think we do want to keep all public comments directly addressed to council.
Well, let me point out that the idea that that the idea of separation of church and state is not embodied with the Constitution. Yeah,
Pennsylvania Constitution.
no, it's not.
Pennsylvania Constitution.
Of all the signatories to the Declaration of Independence, 57 of them were churchgoers. All of them, all state constitutions, prior to the US Constitution, in order to be a signatory, you have to have a state constitution. All required that the members be of Christian faith. So the idea that this is some kind of novelty is ridiculous. And to think that we're gonna have this rotating church or no church or anything like that, I'm absolutely against. Adamantly opposed to it, it's a disservice to the community. It's nincompoopy, as far as I'm concerned.
It's my understanding that each council person has a month where they do get invitation. So each month, someone would be able to say whatever they think is the right thing at that time. So,
Council member, right?
council members.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other comments for this evening? Okay. Here now, may I have a motion for adjournment, please? Okay. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, thank you, everyone. See you next.
Yeah.